Not surprised. We all know who he is and how we get down, so that don't surprise me.
Are you surprised by the evidence that's already coming out in the criminal trial?
No, I'm not surprised. I experienced some of those things. Witnessed violence.
Everything we thought we knew about Shakur's end might be a lie. Was hip-hop's most iconic star forced into exile by his greatest rival, Sean Diddy Combs? That's the whisper igniting late-night group chats and breakfast tables from Harlem to Havana. As the smoke clears on Diddy's so-called untouchable empire, now rattled by a parade of federal agents and high-strung attorneys, there's an eruption of new claims that Shakur himself could be alive, lurking just beyond the spotlight, planning a return that might upend the very roots of hip-hop history. The very suggestion has Diddy's defense team sweating through $1,000 shirts, scrambling to plug leaks, and wondering whether the biggest secret in rap is about to detonate in open court. Every newspaper, every live stream, every nosy neighbor wants to know, did Diddy eliminate a rival, or did he get played at his own game?
He's 3 law firms on retainer. I don't know how much money is coming in, but I know that a lot of money is going out every single month for Diddy.
This new theory doesn't just dust off old rumors. It suggests a chess match that started in the 90s with the East Coast-West Coast feud and still hasn't ended. We're not talking about some backroom rumor mill. No, we're talking about fresh cracks in the story that's been served up to the public for decades. The tale goes like this. Shakur, at the height of his fame and paranoia, realized the streets were too hot. Too many enemies, too many jealousies. Diddy's name kept circling, whispered in the alleys of both LA and New York, as the man orchestrating the ultimate takedown. And now, as Diddy's legal team faces a RICO indictment with the grim tenacity of a sinking cruise ship, we're forced to ask, did Shakur orchestrate his own escape and make his greatest rival the fall guy? It's not just Diddy's empire buckling. It's the entire narrative, the one we've been spoon-fed since 1996, that is suddenly splitting at the seams. Here's Diddy, once the master of the Bad Boy Records universe, sitting in a courtroom while his inner circle tries not to make eye contact with the press. The accusations now stretch so far they make the East Coast-West Coast rivalry look like a schoolyard squabble. Witnesses describe secret flights, hush money, and a criminal network that used platinum records as camouflage. Every time another lawyer for Diddy tries to steady the ship, a new rumor drops, faster than a mixtape in a group chat. It's not just about alleged parties and payoffs anymore. Now the courtroom is alive with one chilling idea. If Diddy thought he ended the threat of Shakur, maybe he only sent his greatest enemy underground. Maybe the whole thing was a setup, and the puppet strings were in Shakur's hands the entire time.
The government essentially said that Sean Combs led a criminal enterprise for his desires, that he tried to cover up crimes, that he was the leader of this criminal enterprise, and that he committed at least 2 that they believe of these elements that are part of the racketeering conspiracy.
But before we get lost in shadowy back channels and possible revenge plots, let's stare straight into the questions that have kept the Shakur conspiracy alive for 3 decades. Let's talk about the night of September 7th, 1996. 4 shots fired on the Las Vegas Strip. Shakur, the man who seemed bulletproof, is rushed to a hospital. The world is told he's gone 6 days later. That's the headline. But dig beneath it and nothing quite adds up. The autopsy photo, a grainy, oddly composed image, has never convinced the loyalists. Some say the face looked off, the skin tone wrong. The official coroner's report lists Shakur as 6 feet tall and 215 pounds, when anyone with an internet connection can see Shakur stood 5'10" and weighed less than 170. And what about the cremator? The man who supposedly turned Shakur to ashes reportedly retired the next day, cash in hand, never to be seen again. If you're starting to feel like you wandered into an episode of The X-Files, you're not alone.
I just get right on the side of his head and just start talking to him in his ear. Just talking to him.
The story doesn't end at the autopsy table. Where was the bulletproof vest Shakur usually wore? Why were 14 shots fired, yet Suge Knight, sitting right next to him, walked away with barely a scratch? Why, on a night when Vegas was jammed with Tyson fans, did not a single tourist witness the supposed getaway? Then there's Shakur's mother, Afeni Shakur, who once said her son had chose to leave quietly. How quiet? Quiet enough to book a one-way ticket to Havana? Because the trail leads straight to Cuba, and no surprise, that's where the rumors take on a life of their own. Now here's where things really tip from oddity to outright cloak and dagger. Michael Nice, a name that circles every major Shakur conspiracy, claims he was working for the Black Panthers at the time, the same organization tied to Shakur's family. According to Nice, the Panthers got wind of a hit being put out on Shakur. Not wanting to see their star protege disappear for good, they called in favors, bribed hospital officials, and pulled off the ultimate switcheroo. Story? Shakur leaves the hospital alive, replaced by a lookalike. Michael Nice claims he was on the plane himself. It was me, my brother, the pilot, Shakur as the co-pilot, and 2 Panther guys on the jet. We took off and immediately knew we were safe. He says the plane landed first in Barbados, then his brother ferried Shakur onto Cuba, straight into the arms of his aunt, Assata Shakur, the notorious activist and FBI fugitive who's been living on the island for decades under Castro's protection.
If you look at it, they committed fraud. They committed bankruptcy fraud. I didn't lose my company by doing anything wrong.
Of course, Michael Nice never quite got to reveal his so-called proof. He was found mysteriously deceased just before he could release the evidence he'd promised. Just bad luck? Or was someone cleaning up loose ends? His demise didn't slow down the rumor mill. Instead, it supercharged it. Suddenly, we've got so-called sightings of Shakur walking around Old Havana. Private investigators in Belize and YouTube detectives swear they've spotted the star, now in his 40s, sometimes even posing for photos with unsuspecting fans. One local in a viral video declared, "We see Shakur here, around Old Havana." Never mind that every alleged selfie seems to have a suspicious glow-up, or that the infamous photo of Shakur with Beyoncé is about as believable as Bigfoot at Coachella. Still, these rumors didn't come out of nowhere. The clues keep stacking up. Suge Knight, never shy about controversy, told TMZ, "Why you think nobody been arrested if they said they the one that did it to Shakur? 'Cause Shakur not gone. If he was, they'd be arresting those dudes for doing it. You know he's somewhere smoking a Cuban cigar on an island." Even if Suge's words are laced with his usual showmanship, the world keeps wondering why. With confessions and witnesses galore, the LAPD case files are still gathering dust. Why does every new suspect in the saga meet a quick end? Or clam up faster than a lawyer at a deposition? Why did the most wanted case in rap history end up colder than a Vegas winter?
Dishonest, violent, horrible. A promiscuous swinger who lied to and cheated on multiple partners. Incredibly, that's how Sean Diddy Combs' own lawyers describe the billionaire music mogul, currently facing serious trafficking charges in a New York court.
This is where the plot takes a hard left turn and lands straight at Diddy's front door. Diddy, once hailed as hip-hop's Midas, is now fighting for his legacy in courtrooms from Manhattan to Miami. He's been called everything from an innovator to the Jeffrey Epstein of the rap world. Forget mogul. Diddy is now the headline act in his own real-life courtroom drama with a stack of lawsuits ranging from impropriety at his infamous parties to allegations that would make a tabloid editor blush. His lawyers, spinning like over-caffeinated weather vanes, argue that he may be many things, but he's not the head of some criminal enterprise. Meanwhile, the FBI raids his mansions, and each new witness in the RICO case peels back another layer of this so-called business empire. But here's the twist no one saw coming. As Diddy's fortress falls apart, whispers circulate that Shakur's so-called escape didn't just leave Diddy holding the bag for the LA drive-by. It might have set up the ultimate revenge play. More than one industry insider claims that for years, mysterious funds have been drained from Diddy's companies. Little leaks, hidden royalties, maybe even the occasional untraceable transfer. And where did all that money go? The speculation is wild but persistent. Shakur used that cash to build a ghost label in exile, the kind of secret operation that could funnel his unreleased music to the world, fund a new movement, or bankroll whatever endgame he's been plotting from the shadows.
Do you think people had this misconception about Tupac and what he was?
He had two sides to him, yes. I'm not going to say he didn't. He was, but at the same time, he just, whatever he believed in, that's what he, that was just he voiced his opinion for whatever it was that he believed in, but he also had this caring, loving side that a lot of people didn't see.
It sounds almost poetic, the star who rapped about Machiavelli, who wrote Exit Shakur, Enter Machiavelli, not just faking his own end, but setting up his nemesis for a public unmasking. Could Shakur's revenge be hiding in plain sight, waiting for the perfect moment to strike? The tension is so thick you could slice it with a press pass. Every day, the courtroom drama grows stranger. Diddy's team panics. The industry starts whispering, are we living through the final act of the longest con in hip-hop, or just watching the biggest myth in music unravel in real time?
How many people came through his orbit? How many people could this have happened to? And how did he get away with it for so long?
If everything about this wild saga is true, if Shakur is alive and in hiding, and Diddy was outplayed in the world's boldest game of misdirection, then the stakes for Diddy couldn't be higher. We're looking at more than just lawsuits and reputational flameouts. We're talking about a legacy vaporized by secrets, a business empire suddenly under siege, not only from federal prosecutors, but from the ghosts of the past. The whispers about Diddy's so-called cleanup crew now sound less like urban legend and more like a playbook. There's no shortage of tales about loyal insiders paid off to keep their mouths shut or tie up loose ends. Insiders who reportedly handled the messiest fallout from that Vegas night, making sure anything that didn't fit the narrative just vanished. A hospital staffer who cashed in a year's salary overnight. A coroner who moved out of state with no forwarding address. Paramedics who forgot details during interviews, citing stress, fatigue, and curiously, sudden out-of-country vacations. The pattern feels almost scripted.
He was responsible for Diddy's day-to-day life, so he is able to provide a lot of information about what that life was like. He goes into detail on extensive use.
Michael Nice, whose claims about smuggling Shakur out of the country fanned the flames of speculation, met his own bizarre end just as he promised to unveil irrefutable proof. We know his demise sent the online conspiracy world into meltdown. Was it bad luck? Maybe. But it landed with the kind of timing that makes anyone tracking the story take a second look. And then there's the matter of alleged bribes. Claims that fat envelopes of cash changed hands among hospital workers, mortuary staff, maybe even law enforcement. None of this has ever been confirmed by an official source, but it keeps coming up in interviews with people who hover at the edges of the bad boy universe. The story always ends the same way. Witnesses lose their nerve, move away, or simply refuse to talk.
I'm quite sure everything, I am death row. Suge Knight is death row. So I'm quite sure, before it's said and done, all eyes on me and Machiavelli out of pockets have definitely come back to me.
If Diddy did have a cleanup crew, we have to wonder what else has been swept under the rug. What other secrets were incinerated with those files, which pieces of evidence never made it into the light, and who's still living with what they saw. Diddy's legal troubles today, his team facing off against charges of racketeering, transportation for illicit purposes, and enough freak-off party allegations to fill a tabloid's backlog for months, suddenly look less like a string of bad decisions and more like the unraveling of a carefully guarded operation. If the empire is built on half-truths and sealed lips, how much longer can it stand when the world is finally looking in every dark corner? The story takes another dangerous twist inside the walls of a California prison. Suge Knight, forever tied to the mythos of both Shakur and Diddy, is serving time on unrelated charges but keeps finding ways to insert himself back into the conversation. According to one documentary producer who visited him for interviews, Suge allegedly hinted that Shakur warned him about the plan to disappear. The implication is explosive. Suge Knight, the West Coast power broker, may have been in on the play from the start, acting as the unwitting decoy while the real show happened offstage. Or was he kept in the dark, just another player in someone else's script? In a rare statement to TMZ, Suge cryptically said, "Justice for Shakur is coming, Keefe D, and now Diddy." Most observers dismissed it as jailhouse bravado, but the fact remains. Suge has never publicly confessed the full truth. Every time new evidence or a suspect emerges, Suge appears to have an opinion, and just enough plausible deniability to keep the myth alive.
You had day 17 in the Diddy trial as the biggest one yet. Guess what? Bingo, you won, because today was probably the most eventful day as far as things that happened that were said on the stand, and most importantly, things that the judge said, because Diddy almost got kicked out of his own trial.
Did Suge Knight knowingly play along with Shakur's escape? Or was he left holding the bag, watching as the biggest secret in hip-hop slipped through his fingers? If Suge decides to open up, it could tear apart everything the public has accepted about the Vegas shooting. Because if Suge knew and let it happen, then the conspiracy is bigger, deeper, and more orchestrated than anyone wants to admit. 3 people in a car, 14 shots, a worldwide manhunt, and a missing superstar. If the truth ever comes out, the ripple effect would shake the foundations of both coasts. And now, with Diddy facing a legal blitz that feels more like a mob takedown than a celebrity scandal, every unanswered question echoes louder. Prosecutors throw around the term criminal enterprise. Witnesses talk about blackmail, secret footage, parties that lasted for days, and money that disappeared just as fast as it was earned. Diddy's defense? The same tired spin. Maybe he was wild, maybe he made mistakes, but he wasn't running an organization. Yet as each new lawsuit drags him back into the headlines, even longtime associates are peeling away. Those once loyal to Diddy are suddenly on reality shows or book tours, hinting at stories they can't talk about on camera. Why does every inner circle member seem so worried about what's coming next?
Then as soon as I walked out of there, I went in the bathroom and I threw up and just laid on the floor for like 30 minutes. His mama came in there and cleaned me up.
And what about Shakur? If the rumors are true, he didn't just fake his own end. He engineered a comeback so patient and so ruthless that the industry is still waiting for the punchline. 3 former Bad Boy executives, interviewed off the record, say they've heard whispers about a ghost label, quietly receiving tracks, maybe even whole albums, under coded names and hidden partnerships. If Shakur is out there, laying the groundwork for a return, then what will that look like? A viral drop on the anniversary of the Vegas shooting? A live stream from an undisclosed Caribbean address with unreleased music and a tell-all about the night that changed everything? Or something even bigger, a coordinated takedown with Shakur and his exiled Panthers ready to expose everything that's been swept under the carpet since the 90s. The possibility of Shakur's return and the chaos it would unleash keeps every industry insider awake at night. Would his reappearance spark lawsuits, confessionals, maybe even criminal charges? Would it vindicate every conspiracy theorist who spent years combing through clues? Would it destroy the reputations of those who thought their secrets were safe forever? As one LA radio host recently said, if Shakur walks out of the shadows, Diddy's world isn't just in trouble, the whole industry gets scorched. There's a reason artists from Eminem to Snoop Dogg keep referencing the story in their tracks. It's the wound that won't heal, the legend that won't rest.
The feds, Al Capone style, have not charged everything under the sun. They've charged 3 main charges: racketeering, trafficking, and the transport of a. And I'll tell you, I don't know about the racketeering charge. It's pretty sweeping, and I'll tell you what the general elements are.
And if Diddy's house of cards finally collapses, maybe this is the reckoning the hip-hop world has avoided for a generation. Maybe the fans, the bloggers, and the street corner philosophers were right all along. Maybe the biggest secret in music is still hiding in plain sight, just waiting for the right moment to turn everything upside down. Every day Diddy's case drags on, every new piece of evidence leaks, every shaky denial from a lawyer pushes us closer to that edge. As Diddy sits in a courtroom, wondering which ex-employee or old rival will flip next, we all wait for the next bombshell. The trial might be about alleged trafficking, illicit parties, and shady money, but under the surface, it's always about Shakur. Always. So what if Shakur is still out there, ready to step into the light and tell his side of the story? What would you do if you saw him on your For You page tomorrow, dropping new music and naming names? And if Diddy's empire is built on secrets, how much longer can those secrets survive the world's glare? Let us know what you think in the comments. Could the greatest comeback in hip-hop history be right around the corner? Or is this all just a fever dream cooked up by a world hungry for drama? Either way, thanks for watching, keep your eyes open, trust no one, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.